make a video. I'm gonna speed through this pretty quickly, mostly because Maverick is doing really, really well at this portion of the training. But I actually am not really certain if you use a crate. I can't remember. I know you and I have never had this discussion about crates, so I'm not real sure if you use them or not, but they're actually one of the most important foundations of my training, and I think they're one of the most important things you can provide for your dog for their lifetime, actually. Dogs are den animals. They are naturally programmed to stay in dens. That's their biology for you. And so when they don't have a den and it's not a high source of comfort, what ends up happening is they really don't feel like they have a very safe spot. And a lot of times you'll start to see dogs try to find their own den. So they'll try to like get under a table or in the corner of a room or maybe under a bed or inside of a closet. And all these things are dogs basically screaming, I need a den. So most people think of crates as this is a temporary potty training cage. And that's not how I think of crates. Although crates will absolutely help create a really, really well potty trained dog very quickly, I do not think of crates as a potty training cage. I think of them as a lifetime bedroom that is going to provide security for them for their entire lives. When dogs are not consistently using a crate, this safety and security that I'm talking about it doesn't feel, it's not consistent, so it doesn't feel safe. So say someone keeps a dog in a crate for the first 6 months of their life for potty training and just for chewing and other boundaries that they want to create while they're gone and stuff like that, and then they start to wean them off of it and give them all this freedom. The crate is going to become less and less significant the less and less it's used. And what ends up happening is that the dog doesn't get the amount of sleep that they need because the crate isn't there to kind of reinforce that mentality. And then the dog tends to fight going in the crate more. And it's, a lot of people will start to say that that's not because the dog doesn't like the crate, but in my experience, when you use a crate regularly, they actually will seek it out on their own. So I feel like when people are using it inconsistently, it has more to do with the dog's obsession about like guarding the house or maybe obsessing over the human's personal space. A lot of the times dogs don't like their crates if they feel like they're kind of always involved with the human inside the home, like separation anxiety style. Like I have to walk into every single room with you. I need to know what you're doing. Am I involved in this? Can I get involved in this? And so dogs, so if you put them in a crate randomly or not on a regular routine, this is when you'll start to see barking and whining and protests in the crate. And people will go, oh, they don't like their crate. No, they don't like not being involved with you, and they don't like not knowing what you're doing, and they don't like not guarding your house, and they don't like you leaving, they don't like not sleeping in your bed. That's what they don't like, right? They want all those things because if they've been given freedoms to do all those things and then you put them in a crate, they're going to feel like they're being blocked, not secured, right? So when you use a crate regularly, what ends up happening is it becomes a normal part of their routine, and they don't really care about guarding the house or what it is that you're doing in the home because it's actually more normal for them to be on the crate routine. So this is one of the reasons why we use it. You're young, so I imagine you'll probably move a lot, and this will actually be the best way to transfer the training from location to location. So every time you move, Maverick's going to say, new rules. I'm not familiar with this house. I'm not familiar with this yard. So I'm going to start to try to behave like I used to. And so every time you move, you're going to have to kind of recreate this training program and it'll go by really quickly because he's already trained.
but he's going to need a reminder, oh, I'm in a new home, so the same rules apply. Dogs can't just translate like that to a new home. It has to be shown again, right? So the crate is one of the best ways to move from home to home because it gives them their bedroom that just goes from house to house to house, so they can have that security of knowing that that sense of comfort in their crate is always there. And then it also gives you an opportunity to create them to say, okay, like, I don't want to push you in the backyard alone unsupervised, so you create gobs of unwanted behavior that I have no control over because I'm not back there with you. And you say, okay, well, I'm going to put you in the crate until I can show you how to behave in the backyard. So that's a good example of like how it might help you in a move. And sometimes dogs develop aversions to thunder, lightning, and fireworks. These things don't happen regularly, and they usually don't stick around long enough to train a dog how to feel better about those forms of stimulus. So a lot of the times, as long as the dog genuinely and truly loves their crate, sometimes we will put dogs in their crate when fireworks or thunder and lightning are going off because it's their safe place and they don't have to pace around and become more anxious. They're basically looking for a safe place to begin with. Affection's going to reinforce, be scared of those things because affection is a reward. So it's like, okay, why don't you go in your crate? This is where you're going to feel safe. Nothing bad is going to happen, right? But if you don't use the crate regularly and it's not a safe spot, you cannot use it for that reason, or else the crate will actually be associated with the thunder and lightning or with the fireworks, right? So that's why we say lifestyle of crate. It's not just because, it's not just used for a temporary period of the dog's life. If you use it for a lifetime, it's a bedroom that goes everywhere. It's a constant feeling of security and safety. You can use it in those moments where they're scared. And the dog will always kind of feel like they, have a safe place to resort to if they feel like they need it. So that is why I would recommend that you keep a crate in Maverick's life. I don't know if he's sleeping on your bed right now, but that's a big, huge no-no. Every single client I've ever worked with will tell you that I absolutely am not okay with that, and I will never encourage that with any single one of my clients, even if they have a very good dog. Dogs need their own space. They need a good, solid sleep at night. They don't sleep as well if they're sleeping in the bed with a human. Every time they move, you wake up. Every time you wake up and move, they move. Every time you move, they wake up. So it's not sound sleep. And they shouldn't be in your intimate space for a third of the day. We sleep for a third of our day. Dogs should not be allowed to be close to you at that capacity. You'll create separation anxiety. You're going to create a dog who feels very empowered and in control. And most people wake up every single morning and share lots of affection with their dog because they're very cuddly. And what that's going to do is basically create a sense of entitlement. Well, I actually don't have to do anything because I was already told that I'm a god. So I'm not going to listen to you. Let me outside and you're not going to be able to call me back inside. Or take me on a walk and I'm guaranteed I'll pull you down the road. They lose respect. And it's an entitlement thing. It's like, well, why would I listen? I woke up this morning and you told me I was the cutest thing that's ever lived, and you reinforced it by rewarding me with affection. Right? Dogs just, in general, that's just how they perceive it. And it would be the equivalent of having a child and waking up first thing in the morning and giving them some candy. And they don't have to brush their teeth, they don't have to get dressed, they don't have to clean their room. There's no earning it either. Just, oh my God, I love you so much. You are a wonderful child. Here's some candy. What would that do to a child? So that's why I, one, discourage affection first thing in the morning. Go work your dog. Make them work for it. But two, no bed. Exclamation point. Get him out of your bed if he's in your bed and get him on a strong crate routine at night. That's going to guarantee him however many hours of sound sleep you're going to get that night, he is going to get that night. Dogs need 18 to 20 hours of sleep a day. So if they're not getting it, they become children who haven't had their sleep. And if anyone is aware of what a child is like when they don't get enough sleep, they throw temper tantrums, they start crying unnecessarily, they get more hyperactive sometimes. It's just absolutely obvious you need sleep. Dogs, people don't see it like I see it. It's not as obvious. So when they're puppies, it's usually lots of mouthiness. That's usually the reason. I haven't had enough sleep. I'm going to put my mouth on everything, from the human to the furniture to the grass, anything I can get my mouth on, and it's usually from sleep deprivation. You might see it in dogs not coming when called, or getting the zoomies, or zoomies are when they start running around like crazy all of a sudden. You might see it in just in general ignoring all things that you ask. There might be an overwhelming amount of hyperactivity that you see that comes from lack of sleep. So they actually express it in many ways, but the bottom line is if they're not getting enough sleep in a day, they are going to act out. Now, a lot of people will say, well, they do just sleep all day. They do. So if that, and I don't know if you feel that way, but if you really do genuinely feel that way, you have to ask yourself, does he sleep so soundly that you can move around your house all day long and he doesn't follow you or get concerned about where you're going because he's that asleep? Where is he sleeping? Is it on the floor, in his dog bed, in your bed, on your couch, on top of you? Right? Because there's a huge distinction between all those things, right? Bed, couch, you, he's in charge. The floor or his own bed, that's what we want, right? All four on the floor. Let's not empower this dog to feel like he's a god. So, but the whole, they sleep throughout the day thing, I have heard this from lots of clients, and then when I go to their house, that's not the case at all. They're not sleeping. Every time the human gets up to go to the bathroom or goes into the kitchen to make food or get a drink, the dog's right there with them. So that means the dog's not actually sleeping, it's just waiting for the human to move. And they might have their eyes closed, but it's not sound sleep if your toe moves and they bound up with you. So that's another reason why we use a crate. And we don't just use it at night, we use it throughout the day. Is because what we're trying to do is create, make sure that we can get the dog enough sleep. This is extremely important when they're really young, because if they have daily amounts of sleep that are required, when they become adults, they're not crazier. When dogs lack sleep and then they reach adulthood, they're actually much more challenging to handle, because they have to catch up on all the sleep that they lost. And anyone with sleep deprivation will tell you that it will make you go crazy. And so they're literally going crazy, to the point where some of them are acting aggressively simply because they didn't get enough sleep when they were young. It's nuts. But I see it all the time. So we need to use the crate for nighttime, for when you're not there. And maybe this is what you're already doing. I absolutely don't know. I've not had a consultation with you yet. And then we are going to up the ante and use the crate while you're at home too. And the reason why we're going to do that is because, one, we need to make sure he's getting enough sleep. But two, this training will actually go by faster if we use the crate to help block unwanted behavior. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you don't want Maverick to fence fight anymore. I don't know if he fence fights, So maybe every time you put him in the backyard, let's backtrack. This one might be a little bit more realistic. Let's say you're sick of throwing Maverick in your backyard, and then when you want him to come inside because you have to go, you need to leave, he won't listen to you. He's like, why would I come to you? You're just going to bring me inside? I don't want to come inside yet. Right? That's a big no-no. Your dog should always listen to you. So you go, okay, well, my trainer taught me how to recall him, so I'm going to take him out in the backyard, and then I'm going to practice Maverick come. And so you're like doing it over and over and over again, and he's doing really, really well, and he's coming every single time he's called, and you're having great success in the backyard. Right? And then one time you throw him out there and you don't have the collar on him and you're not doing the training and you're just being super casual about it, and he won't come when called now. When you set up a scenario like that, that's inconsistent, the dog cannot learn, right? They'll learn to some capacity, but they cannot retain it as a long-term behavior. So then it becomes management. Well, I always have to have the collar on him in the backyard, because if I don't, he never listens, right? It's like, if you train it so consistently that they never have an opportunity to not come when called, eventually you don't have to have the collar, because it becomes their new behavior. It's so consistent that now it's just their norm. When you say come, it doesn't have any negative connotation. They actually enjoy it and they want to. So that's where consistency is so important. Now, a lot of people will leave their dog in the backyard when they're gone. And I don't know if you're doing this, but if that, let's say hypothetically that was you were like, okay, I'm just gonna leave him in the backyard, I'm gonna go run to the store real quick, and then you go back into the backyard and he won't come when called. That is a big no-no. That inconsistency is gonna prevent you from solidifying this training to become his second nature and to have him extremely reliable. So this is where I use a crate. Right? Okay, I worked really, really hard at the backyard. I've got a really good recall going on. I don't want to just throw him in the backyard real quick. I'm going to put him in his crate instead. And that's going to ensure that he doesn't run all over the place, set you up for failure by creating that inconsistent picture that we just painted. Right? So we're going to use the crate to be consistent with the training. I'm not going to give you a bunch of unnecessary freedoms so that you can mess up the training and recreate your own habit patterns. See, the thing about dogs is they're always in training. You've already trained him. You have. It's just not in a way you think that you did. It wasn't with a treat and you didn't give him commands. You trained him every single routine you and he have together. You've trained him to act all the ways that he does. And I don't know what those ways are. But dogs are always in training. They learn through habit patterns and association. So if they're allowed to burst through a door, then they're going to burst through every single door. If they're taught that they have to sit and wait for permission to exit a door, then they will always sit and wait before they go out a door and ask for permission. You see? So we're always training them. It's just, what do we want? Do we want them to come when called every single time? Or do we want to just throw them out back in the backyard because it's easier than supervising them? You see? So my biggest words of encouragement for you would be that, make sure you're consistent in the areas that you deem necessary for your lifestyle, but there's going to be 5 things that I'm going to encourage you to maintain for the rest of his life. Well, let's say 6 for now, actually. 1 is the crate. 2 is proper doorway etiquette. 3 is the place command, which we discussed in some of my other videos. Extremely important command. I emphasize keeping that a part of a dog's life for their entire life. Heeling on the walk. I'm with you all the time in a nice loose leash heel. And coming when called. Maverick, come. It happens every single time. And the 6th one is the choose me over everything. That's a huge one, right? You need to stay, it's basically permission-based training. You need to stay with me until I give you permission otherwise. Hugely important. So, if you maintain all of those steps for his entire life, so that's kind of like the scale on which you are living your life with Maverick. He has all of those things on a daily basis. He is going to be a really amazing dog. He's going to be everything you want in a companion animal. I would recommend that you focus all of your attention on all those things. If you can do that and you can be consistent about it, like I said, you're going to have a really amazing companion animal. So now that I did that whole speech, I'm going to walk you through crate and doors. I've been kind of discussing with you how to get him to come when called, how to get him to walk in a heel, how to build that pack drive so he walks in a heel. We've gone over the place command, but we haven't gone over crate and doors. And this is, I think, one of the most important parts of my training. So I would emphasize this greatly when he comes home, that you're very consistent with this. So the first thing I'm going to do, I have a little crate cover for him. He has to sit before I open the crate door. The thing that's going to suck about this video is that he's already trained, so I can't actually walk you through how to do it if he misbehaves. I'm sure that at the go home we'll see plenty of that. So let's just say this video is about the expectations. He has to be sitting. Do not open the crate door until he's sitting. Once he's sitting, you can open the crate door, but he has to stay sitting. If he chooses not to sit, you would close the door and then open it back up when he sits. So he has to be sitting in order for the door to open, and he has to remain sitting with the door open. Then you're going to put the leash on him when he's in his crate. He will be leashed for you, or I would recommend that he remains leashed to you until you're 100% e-collar savvy. There always needs to be you always have to have a tool on a dog if you want to consistently communicate with them. If you don't have a tool on the dog and they're not fully trained, your voice is going to mean jack squat. So you always have to have at least a leash or an e-collar on them when you're in the middle of training so that you're consistent. Consistency is the only way to train a dog. So you're going to put the leash on him, and then you're going to invite him out. Let's go. I say let's go as my invitation. I'm going to move this a little further away. Right? And you're going to put him in a sit. Now I usually keep my leash, when he comes out of his crate, I usually keep my leash pretty short because I don't want him to run all over the place. When he first got here, that's what he wanted to do. So if he wants to do that at home, don't give him all 15 feet of line. Kind of block him with the short leash and then put him into a sit. If you struggle putting him into a sit, I don't know if you can see this. Looks like there's a weird light source here. If you struggle putting him into a sit, you can just pull up on the leash like this, and that puts him into a sit. So, up, release. You see? So you just pull directly up on that leash. That should put him directly into a sit. And then you're going to get his equipment. And you're going to put the e-collar on him. And with this guy, I like the e-collar right behind his ears. I feel like I get the best response when it's right behind his ears. And he might move it around. You just never want the e-collar right here underneath his neck because they can't feel it. Not nearly as well. So you really want it, to the side of his neck or directly behind his ears. All right? So this is crate etiquette. And then the leash and the e-collar, I call gearing them up etiquette. So see how nice and calm he is? This is what I want. I just want them to be patient and relaxed. So I'm basically setting a tone. I want you to be calm when you come out of your crate. I don't want you to be crazy. All right, now you see a door over there. That's the first door we're going to do. I'm actually going to... Maverick has green eye boogers every single time I go to get him out of his crate. It's a bit concerning because that usually means sickness. Green. And sometimes dogs get sick when they first get here, just kind of like a kid going to school, and kind of getting like a little cold. So I wouldn't say it's uncommon for dogs to have green goopy eyes for a couple days at some point during their board and train. But Maverick's actually had the green goopy eyes since day one, and they've never gone away. maybe you can text me and give me some feedback as to whether or not that's something that you've seen at home. Because if it is, it's a red flag, and we might need to consider that he might have something going on with him, or that maybe he has a food allergy. Maybe he's not, I've noticed that his poop is always really soft. So maybe the green comes from him not responding very well to his food. I'm not totally sure. I just want to make sure I run it by you. All right, doorways. So I want you to picture yourself getting him out of his crate like that. I don't know where that crate's going to be in terms of your home, but think about that crate and then the door that he's going to be exiting out of to go outside. Okay? So you're going, after you gear him up, he has to walk to that door with you. Not in front of you, with you. Let's go. So it's going to be like in a healing position here. Good. Do you want some water? I don't mind. So when you think about, I don't know if it's like a hallway, I don't know how your house is, but wherever that crate is and wherever that exit door is, you're going to be focusing that period of time on maintaining him walking to that door with you, not leading you there. Okay? And then when you get to that door, you're going to test him. And you're going to see if he goes to the door before, sure, buddy, sure. If he goes to the door before you, or if he stays with you. So when I stop, Maverick stops with me. When he first got here, he would go right to the door and poke it with his nose as to say, open it for me. Okay? That's a demanding, bossy conversation. He's actually telling you to open the door for him. And we don't want, I would discourage you from letting him boss you around, especially with doorways, because doorways are so important to have control over. If you have control over your doorways, he won't bolt out of them. He'll respect them and wait for permission, and eventually he'll even be better about guests coming over because you're controlling the doorway that he enters and exits, okay? So we want this, hey, I'm going to stop with you mentality. Now, from the crate to the door to the stopping point to test him, are you going to stay with me or are you going to move towards the door and boss me? You're being so good. Yeah. If he doesn't listen to any of that, you can either do a let's go and move him backwards. Good boy, let's go. Yeah. Or you can take a step back, a few steps back here, and bring him back into that position that you're looking for. Let's go. So those are the two options. But basically what you're going to notice is there's a trend in my training, and that is I use forward momentum as a reward and an incentive to basically reinforce the behavior that I'm looking for. So for everything I don't agree with, like him sprinting from the crate to the door or him going to the door to boss it, any of that stuff that I don't want, I'm actually going to move backwards instead of forwards, which is very discouraging for the dog. The dog says, well, I want to move forward. What can I do? What can I do to move forward? Well, walk with me. Meet me at the door. Don't beat me to the door. And then sit and patiently wait. I can reward that by continuously moving forward, and then the dog starts to realize if I actually do all these things like she's asking, I'll move forward faster. So they eventually choose to do it on their own. Okay, so that's the first step. Walk to the door and make sure they meet you there and they're there with you and they're not beating you to the door. Second step is you're going to twist your doorknob and just twist it and open the door and pause. That's the second step. Pause. Okay? If he doesn't do that, then you got to close the door and do a little let's go and restart it. Okay? You got to move backwards to de-incentivize unwanted behavior. Step 3, you're going to open the door and see what he does. See how loose my leash is? I'm testing him. Can you stay in a sit and wait for permission on your own without me doing this? Because this is force. This is him doing it on his own. This is how you get a dog to to not bolt out the door because you're psychologically helping them understand they're not allowed through it without your permission, right? So that's step 3. Step 4 is when I'm going to wait for eye contact, and then when I get it, we are going to walk through the door together. So I'm going to give them the command here. So as soon as I get on eye contact, here. Good boy. Here. I don't think I've ever seen him walk through a doorway that slow in my life. I don't think he quite understands what it is that I'm doing right now. So the 4th step is eye contact, and then here we go through the door together, and then the 5th step, which I don't need to go through with him again because he did so well. A lot of dogs, when I say here, then at the moment we start walking here, they bolt out the door. And I don't want my dogs doing that because I want to teach dogs to not take people out and have respect, lower the excitement levels going through the door, normalize going in and out of a door. It's not such a big frickin' deal like a lot of people make it a big deal, right? So the 5th step is that if they bolt and they start running around like crazy, is I'll call them back and make them go through that door with me in a here. So like if I said here and then he went and shot out, I would call him back to me and tell him to here and show him, no, I didn't say bolt out the door, I said here, walk through the door with me together. Let's go. So we're going to just do one more door just to help solidify this example. Right? So now we've got the door to the outside world. It's a little harder for him on this door because this door has all sorts of smells outside of it. Right? So, real quick, I taught you, I just went over the 5 steps of how to have proper door etiquette. And I was explaining how I move backwards to de-incentivize unwanted behavior. And I move forward in order to help them understand what they're doing right that will get them through that door, right? So you only have to move backwards where they've struggled. You know, if you can walk to the door and have them meet you there and they sit and you can twist the doorknob and they stay, but then the moment you open the door is when they bolt. You know, you could just simply close the door. You don't even have to do it all the way because he already succeeded at twisting the doorknob and opening it a crack, right? So you can just gently kind of close the door, bring him back in, put him in a sit, and open the door again. How are you going to respond to step 3? So you only have to backtrack the step that they failed over. If that makes any sense. All right, so go here, sit, we meet at the door. Step 1. Step 2, twist the knob. I always pause to test them. Step 3, open the door. What's he going to do? Oh, he broke. Come. Come. Let's go. I'm glad he did that so I can show you how to fix that. See how I'm going to start over now. Sit. Now, step 1 and 2 he did well. Step 3 he didn't do, so I'm going to go over step 3 again. What's he going to do? Perfect. You see, and a lot of this is, I do want him to have the choice. So he did bolt through the door. That was his choice. But in the end, it didn't get him anywhere. Right? So he sees that he does have a choice here. I'm not forcing this. I'm not doing this. This isn't a forceful training technique. This is just, what choice are you going to make? And if that's the choice, then we're going to start back over. If this is the choice, guess what? We get to go through the door. Right? So then I'm going to get the eye contact, and I'm going to say, here. And then as you can see, let's go, Maverick. He's like, well, I did it right that time. And then as you can see, that 5th step he's really, really, really getting good at, which is just very, very gently walking through the door with me instead of bolting. Let's go. Now, right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take him outside, and then I'm going to put him into a sit again, and then I'm going to say, go potty. And when I say go potty, and sometimes I say go ahead, I don't know, I'm probably not the best trainer for having multiple words for this, but go potty or go ahead are his words. He understands that means he's free. He's not in a command. He doesn't have to stay in a heel. You know, he doesn't need to stay in a sit, that kind of stuff. He can actually go and sniff and be a dog. So after I do my crate and my gearing up and my proper door etiquette, we get outside, and I will have them make sure they stay with me. Like I'll recall them or make them stay in here, put them in a sit, and then okay, go potty. This is your time to relieve yourself. So I just want to kind of make that clear as well. So this is my crate door video. This is going to be extremely helpful for you when Maverick comes home to follow, and this will be beneficial for you to follow through with. And really, this has a multitude of reasoning behind it. I can go on and on and on about how important this is, but in general, I'm just setting the tone. The more I work on these boundaries, these rules, this etiquette, and really building this respect that's coming from Maverick, I'm very much setting the tone for how the outside world will look, you know? So if I let him burst out the crate, let him burst out the door, he's gonna be at a level 10 of excitement by the time he gets outside. As you can see how chill he is, I'm already creating a dog who's very, very neutral and normal and mellow, so by the time we go outside, he might be more like a 3 on the excitement scale. And that is so much easier to control than a 10. So that's a really, really good reason why I do it and why I would encourage this to become your lifestyle. Now, at first it might require these repetitions that I'm discussing with you, but eventually it'll become his norm. You know, eventually this will just become something that he does, and it's just second nature. So think about this as it's going to take a while for him to understand that these are his rules with you because they weren't his rules before. But once you get those rules ingrained and it becomes his habit, you're not going to have